Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Welcome. I'm a guest. We're all guests. Rabbi Tikatsky, Shkoyach, thanks for coming. Every time he comes, he gives me chizuk. I say over the mice again. Have tremendous hakars. You know the story?
No, say it.
Everybody knows the story. I'll say it, and they'll say, "Oh yeah." The first day of COVID, I got this giant box in the mail. Or somebody delivered it. It turns out that it was sent before, but it came at the perfect time, right when we were all depressed, leaving the mismeasures and everything. So, shkoyach again, hakar satayv. So I said, Lili nishmas imi mirasi rus b's Mordechai, and I was actually very shocked. I was told that there's no way my son is going to name his daughter after my mother. It's an original. He told my daughter, the kids are so okay. I didn't say a word to him, and it's not my shita to demand these kind of things. And it's a beautiful thing for me. It's not the name. It wasn't so much that he named after my mother. Her name is Sophia Rus, but it showed that he's a mature person, that he has a karsa toiv, that I'm not. It wouldn't have been the end of the world if he didn't. But to me, it was a big simon, and simon of his growth. And I want to thank all the people that sent emails and texts. I got so many, and I didn't reply to most of them. So I apologize to that. Maybe one day I'll get around to it if I could find them. I'm just going to read literally 2 or 3 that I just received. Mazel tov on the birth of the new baby girl. I remember like yesterday, the Sheva Brachos in Brooklyn. The Elam put together, MDY put together a beautiful Sheva Brachos in a nice hall over there, like one of these wedding halls. And how many stayed afterwards to learn the daf with you at midnight. You should be proud of how your chayalim changed his life for the better. He doesn't even miss his motorcycle. He had 3 motorcycles. Enjoy Miami and the new granddaughter, Glenn Ackerman, West Hempstead, New York. Glenn. Hi, Magid Shir Choshev. Mazel tov, and the new granddaughter. We should give her parents and the rest of the family. That's the Yiddish Nachas. Somebody even wrote Yiddish Nachas and Yeshivish Nachas. I never heard that one. Learning Shir right now, Daf 95. It's awesome that after the traveling and time change, you're giving the Shir. What an inspiration. So yesterday was unbelievable. I gave 3 Shirim. Today I only gave 1. This is my first one. I'm going to give a second one after. So, but last night when I came here, it was already after 2. That was the 3rd one. I don't know, because we're going to give special koiches with Daf Yomi. That's how it works. By the way, one of my son's highlights of this week is coming to me with me in Matzah Shabbos here. Mazel tov, God, Carlos. What's your guys' names again? Remind me. Zanzibar. Meir Shalom, and Yaakov. Yesterday, you guys came. It was a special treat for the boys. They liked it so much they came again. Unbelievable. So if we were in the base measure, we have cameras on you now. So did that picture make it in? Did anybody see the? Oh yeah. I thought because I sent it to Yosef. I was hoping you'd get in that picture. I forgot to put it in. All right. Dear Valley, the daf didn't change my life. It's changing my life every day. I've been struggling with many things since high school in yeshiva. I didn't have the greatest experience with learning. I was going quietly. I was going through a slight addiction. I worked very hard to get over it, but I couldn't fully move away from it. I also have not had a set seder. It says on the top, please keep this anonymous. Thank you. So I will. I've not had a set seder for the last 6 to 7 years. The cheshik was not there. After starting to do David Baddiel, I've had a new excitement for learning the jokes, the animation stories. I feel like a kid learning for the first time again. I now feel like I have a very powerful weapon, Torah, which helps me fight this struggle. To add more on top of this, I've been struggling financially for a bit, and a few days after I committed to start coming to this year, I closed a big client, and I'm now making more money than I've ever had. It's still not enough. Anyways, I want to thank you for being such an inspiration to me. I want to thank Hashem for everything and for guiding me towards your shir. Hashem should give you continued hatzlach and success in everything you do. Hatzlach g'dayla. Shalom Shefa. Dear Rebelli, this is Shalom Shefa. Your Talmud here, your Rabbi Shemesh. Thank you for putting the spotlight on me on the Matzah Shabbos here. Normally, I'm not the one who enjoys being the center of attention, as obvious since I've been attending your shir at MDY daily since my Katan, and we don't have a kesher, which I take responsibility for. I'm writing as I do believe that the Talmud regulation is important. I want to let you know a little bit more about your Talmud Shalom Shefa. First, you had asked what time I wake up in the morning, and I said usually 5 a.m. or before. So Gary Ben Moshe installed in my home office a screen that shows the base medrash. That's why I came with the idea to show the argument that I had with my chavrusa and etc. So I'm looking there at like 5 something, and I see this guy comes in. So and then I know every single day he shows up at the same time, all by himself, and he's serious. He's learning. He's davening. Quiet. Shtelates. I called him out when I said. It turns out he's sitting in front of me for like 3 years. No, I see him every day. I just didn't know his name. So after getting ready, I catch up. He gets up at 5. He catch up on business emails, and I walk up the stairs for my content DY. I usually, I'm the first one to be smashed, and I use the time to review the day's daf. This chazar. Going over the daf before she is very important. Oh, he does hachana. Sorry. It's very important to have, usually helps towards understanding the day share. Along with my other regular day learning, I'm doing Shnai Mikra for the past 2 years, which you are the catalyst for. How did I begin Daf Yomi with you? 2 years ago, towards the end of Masechtas Megillah, I walked into the dining room. I saw my 14-year-old learning the daf, and he told me about Rebelli's online shir, and he recruited me. If my son could find time to learn the daf, then I could. 14-year-old. A few more things about me. We made Aliyah from Atlanta, Georgia 5 years ago. I have 4 children. Live in Ayerkon, daven and chariot tefillah by Rabbi Margolis, work in high tech, and keep active with mountain biking with Avi Gear and the Gears Chevra, my exercise bike spinning to nowhere, and Taekwondo. Thanks to all you do, Mazel Tov on the granddaughter, safe travels, look forward to your return. Shalom Shefa. That's why I like these emails. You get to learn who these people are. I don't have a picture of him. Maybe Yosef will throw it up there. The chayalim of the week, sponsored by Shlomo Rubenstein in honor of Shmuel Pesach Rubenstein becoming a bar mitzvah. The siyadta for the unity of Am Yisrael. The part of Shprintzy and Avrumie Gross, the yahrzeits of our fathers, Zlman being Eisic, zechus, Benimin, and Aייzik ben Hiresh, הכהן zechus. Part of chayalim. Linish ben zechariah ben Moshe, Linish ben zechariah ben Yosef. Part of chayalim. Ahron Fraiman should be zechus. To rebel, because they siyadta dishmaya and teaching Torah to Klal Yisroel. Amen. Part of chayalim. Family Noimark. Happy birthday to our bro David Baddiel and refua shelaima Eliezer Shmuel ben Veeta. And the art of the month, and honors to the zechus for an easy childbirth, his daughter, and a healthy baby. Rabbi Isai, here we are, Daf Tzadik Hey, Amud Beis. Today is Daf Tzadik Vav. So, at the end of yesterday's sugya, the Gemara says that Rav Ashi said he was by Rav Kana. They had a question. According to Reb Shimon, and we're going to go today a little bit in Reb Shimon, not so much, but a little bit. To review the Reb Shimon, and Reb Shimon says that this Ganav, he improved the property, and he says, okay, he gets the improvement, he gets a third of the improvement, half of the improvement. We want to know, could you pay him off in cash, or does he get an actual piece of the property? So the Gemara says like this, and we have a little bit of a chart here to understand it slightly better. Let's say you have a loiva and a malva. The loiva is the borrower, the malva is the lender, and the loiva owns a piece of property. The malva gives the loiva money. So that the property becomes meshubah. That's how Yosha likes to draw meshubah. There's a lien on the property. Now the loiva, if he doesn't pay back the 100, then the property goes to the malva. Goes the loiva, and what does he do? He sells it. He sells the property. But there's already a lien on the property. So this guy's the lekeach, he's the buyer. There's a lien on the property. He buys it. Now, the lekeach is supposed to know. In those days, they knew about these things. There was a coil out there. So-and-so lent money. You should have known better. You know that this property, there's a lien on it, right? Today, we do a title, and we do it for this reason, because maybe there's a lien on a property. The buyer, he improves the property. He plows the field. You see those round furrow, whatever. He plants trees. He builds whatever he does. So now the property is worth 130. Comes the malva, and he takes the entire property, but he's only owed 100. So the halacha is he gives the buyer the lekeach. He pays him 30 from his own pocket. The rest, the 100, the lekeach is going to have to go back to the loiva, to the borrower, and get his money from him. But you see, the Gemara says, you see from here that the lender could pay off with cash versus property. It doesn't give him a nice chunk of the property towards his $30. He gives him cash. So you see, the Ganav gets cash. So now we're holding by 5 lines from the bottom or maybe more. Amalei Ravinu Ravashi, 6-7 lines from the bottom. Amalei Ravinu Ravashi, right? Ravinu Ravashi are the ones who wrote the Gemara, the authors of the Gemara, not the Mishnah, the Gemara. The last of the Amorai. Miomer Shmuel Bal Chayv Lelikeach Yov Leishevach. Does the Shmuel really say that when you have a malva, he gives the buyer, he gives him cash? Miomer Shmuel Bal Chayv Goiva Es Hashevach. The malva guy, he doesn't have to give the buyer anything. He doesn't give him money. What does that mean? Here, this is Shevach HaMegiel Ktefayim, meaning that the wheat or whatever it is grew to a point that it's already edible. You just have to just cut it down. So it's a finished product. So when there's a finished product, that the malva, the lender, has to pay for it. You should pay the buyer. When it's still in an infant stage, it's not a finished product. So he doesn't have to pay for that product. The malva takes the property with the unripe wheat, and he doesn't have to pay for it. Every day the stories that you see that Shmuel afilu shevach hamegil ktefayim, even when it was ready, done wheat, fruit, whatever it is, that's in its final stage. All you need to do is come pick it or cut it, whatever it is, and Shmuel says you don't have to pay for it. Daf tzadik vav Amud Aleph. Ha the masik beikishir arush vacha. When he's owed $130, then he takes the whole thing. So if he's owed 130, so he's owed the property plus all the improvements, so he takes everything. How does that individual get the guy that improved the property, the buyer? How does he get his money back? Let him go to the loiva, he'll figure it out. But when he's only owed 100, then no, then he has to pay for the 30 improvement. Again, if he lent $100 and the guy has a field that's worth $100 plus he improved $30, so now he takes the $130. The lender takes the whole 130, but he owes 30 to the one that improved the property. But if he's owed 130 and the field is only worth 100, and the buyer invested and he put in $30, who told the buyer to invest in it? The buyer needs to know that there's a loan here, that the loiva owes money. Don't invest in a field that you shouldn't be investing in. Comes the malva, the lender takes everything, the 130. The buyer gets 0 from the lender, and the whole 130 has to go after the loiva. Now there's a big question. If we go back, stop to remember what's going on here. How does it go? Here we go. Again. Oh, this is Shavach Leva 30. Okay. There's a question of machlokes in the Gemara with the guy, the farmer with the hat, the guy that bought the field. Could he push off the malva? Could he push off the lender by giving him cash? Say, you're owed $100, you owed $130, whatever it is. Here's $130 in cash. Don't touch my field. I bought it. I want it for myself. So according to Madom, it says he cannot do that. Okay, I get it. If the guy with the hat, the farmer, the guy that bought the property, and he invested in the property, improved the property, if he has the ability halachically to chase away the lender and say, here's cash, don't bother me, don't touch my field. If he has the ability to do that, then think about it. There's improvement in the field. There's a barn. There's a tree. The field is plowed. That's worth money. Let's view that as cash. So now when the lender comes and says, hey, I'm taking your field, but there's a pile of cash on the field. The barn is like cash. The trees are like cash. So in fact, the buyer is giving the lender cash. He's chasing him away with cash. Oh, so if he paid him with cash, which he's allowed to, according to this man Noimark, he's allowed to chase him away with cash. So why don't we view all the improvements on the property as cash? And if that's the case, the lender should leave some of the property for the buyer. He should give him like a third of the property and say, hey, take this third. I take 2/3 and you take a third. Why? Because he paid him with the produce of the property. That's cash. And you're allowed to do that according to this man. If I had 100% of the cash, I would have given you $130 and you would be on your way. So now that I don't have 130, give me at least part of the land that's against all the improvement that I made. So if I made $30 worth of improvement on this property, give me $30 worth of property. So let me just go back here. Oh, remember the famous word apoitiki. Apoy, we just had it, I don't know, a week ago or so, maybe more. Apoy tihei koi. It's an abbreviation of 3 words. When the loiva says you will take from this specific land, there's not a general lien on the loiva's land. It's this specific land. So when there's a specific lien on a specific land, then the buyer cannot pay off the lender with cash. Everybody agrees you can't do that. And in our case, you cannot push him off with cash, so he can't use his produce, the improvement of the property, as if it's cash and try to take some of the property back. Don't worry about it. We're getting to new sugi in a second. That's what a poitiki means. You can I'll pay you back from this particular property. Amarava. Here we go. New sugi. If a person steals anything, he steals a field and he improves the field. Here, it's the same thing, just we're adding a ganav to it, okay? Forget the malva. The guy steals a field, he improves the field, he plows it, he plants trees. Umochar. And he sold it because of Hish, or he steals the field, he improves the field, v'hirish, so he stole the field, it was worth 100. Now it's worth 130. V'hirish, and he dies and gives it over to his inheritors. Okay. So, according to Reb Shimon, Rashi says it goes according to Reb Shimon, that says that we started the sugya, that the ganav gets 1/3 of the improvement. Not the entire thing, okay, it's 1/3 of the improvement. So he gives 1/3 to his yarshim, he gives 1/3 to the guy he sold. What if a guy steals this field? He steals the field, sells it, and now the guy that bought it, he improved the field. Now remember, Aboisai, why is it when a guy that steals something and he improves it, why is it that he gets to keep some of it? Huh? Better, more, different? Because of a special takana. Because we want people to do tshuva. It's okay. If we're going to take everything from him, he won't do tshuva. So says the Gemara, what he went, he stole, and he sold it. Mao. So the Gemara says, we answered the question. What did the ganav sell to the second guy? Whatever he was able to do, that's what he sold to the second guy. He, as the ganav, if he improves it, he gets to keep at least 1/3 or a half, whatever it is. So too, when he sells it, that's the guy that bought it from him gets the same benefits. What if the non-Jew made improvements? We don't make the kanas hashavim for the non-Jew. We don't care if he does tshuva or not. Why should we make it the kana for him? The guy stole it and he sold it to a Jew. The Jew that bought it from the guy is no better than the guy, and the guy doesn't have a takanas hashavim. He doesn't have the special gzeira takana that he gets to keep it. But going the Gaza Yisrael. Oh, the first first Ganav was a Jew, so he does have a special takana that he gets to keep a third, or whatever it is. And he sells it to the non-Jew. The non-Jew improved it. So it's a three-step thing. First, the Jew stole it, then he gave it to the guy, and the guy sold it to another Jew. What's the question? Me, I'm giving the Mikar Yisrael, Vada Yisrael. Since there's a sandwich here, there's a Jew in the front, Jew in the back, and there's a guy in the middle. So maybe other one takanta, so the takana remains. Maybe in this case there's no takana. Take it. Let's see if we have a picture. So here's the story. There's a property line, and this guy tears down the tree, the palm tree, and it falls into his own property. He kills the tree. He basically knocks down the palm tree. Now, when it's on the ground, what is it called? It's called the palm tree. So the Gemara says there's no shinui here. That's what you were saying before about the shinui. I'm getting the shadi ma'ar, even though it went from the other person's property to my property, to his own property, like Kani. So even though right now it's a dead tree, before it was a live tree, now it's a dead tree, but it's the same name. A palm tree is a palm tree. Mamela, there's no kinyan here. My time and mikar dikla mikri v'ashta nami dikla mikri. Both palm trees. Oh, now what happens? Dikla v'ovid guvi. Check this out. This is just basically he took this is the second step. He made it into beams. Yeah, so that's beams. Good. Not sorry. Mikar dikla. Where are we? Mikar dikla. Yeah. Dikla v'ovid guvi. He made it into logs. Loikani. Hashtami as guvi the dikla mikri, because they're still called the logs of a palm tree. Gube v'avdinu kishure. If he made beams out of it, something like this maybe, like 2x4s or whatever they are. I don't know if that. This guy's mom is proud of himself. He took a regular tree. Look how excited he is. Look what I made out of a tree. All right, Connie. Kishuri Raveri Avdina Kishuri. This is like so let's go back. Let's do this like this. This is beams. The log. This is a log. Okay. He took this log and he made it into kishure. This is to make it a kishure. This is better. Kishure is beams. These are serious beams. This is how you build a big beis medrash beams. Now, if he took the beams and he made large beams and he made it into smaller beams, because they're still considered beams. Avdinu kitsusiyasa, but if he made them into boards which are really thin, then kani is kind of omarava. Hayman de gazaluliva v'avdinu hutze. A person steals a lulav and he makes it into leaves. So it happens to be that this is today. This video was taken today of a guy stealing a lulav. Oh, it's not on the card. You gotta do it again. It's unbelievable. Only in Florida. It's raining outside now. Only in Florida you get a lulav in these days. In the middle of the winter. So this is I think it was kind of the Gneva part. It's not 100% my tree. Okay. Happens to be in that corner, right over there. You see where the blue, you see where the gate like goes in over there, where the blue chair is? Yeah. So right below there, that's where I put my jet skis. I bought 2 jet skis, turbocharged jet skis. I had them for a day or two, and a guy came. There's a video camera there. A guy came, and he just sat there with a saw, and until it took like 20 minutes, and he stole my jet skis. So I figured from the same spot. Anyways, here's the lulav that I stole right here. It's very important. I'll show you why I stole it. Maybe I could. It's really closed, but okay. And I didn't realize how easy it is to cut these. Just a knife. So, Hayman the goes lulav. He steals a lulav, va'avdinu hutze, and he made it into loose leaves like this. Yeah. Oh, you need to do this. Okay. We know what this is. People make kaishalach out of this. So he's kaina. Kanim the mikor lulav mikra v'hashta mikra. The mikor lulav mikra v'hashta hutze. Now it's called hutze, whatever they call it. Leaves. There's a shiloh for the oilam. I thought I should have asked I just saw my father. Should have asked him this question. Is there a svara to differentiate between a guy who steals chametz before Pesach and gives it back to the owner after Pesach? He's yaitza. You can give back pizza if you steal it before Pesach. Pesach comes, it becomes asur bahana and everything. Give back the pizza and say hiresh. Why? Because you can't see a change in the pizza. It's the same pizza. Halachically, it's worthless. Is there a difference between that and an esrog? I steal an esrog before, or lulav. I steal a lulav before sukkos, and I give it back to the guy after sukkos. Now it's worthless. Is there? Could I just say hiresh chalafanecha by esrog? What does the olam say?
No.
You can't say hiresh chalafanecha. It's the same thing as chametz. What? Correct.
You could have enough in the pizza.
You can't have enough from the pizza. Zero. It's also by no. Also no. After Pesach, it's also by no. You can't have it. You have to burn it. So, no. Is there a difference? What were you saying? Somebody started saying something.
Yeah, there's no value.
A zero value. We can't tell. It's the same esrog. Same beautiful esrog before sukkos and after sukkos. It's no value, but time out. I can give back a pizza even though it has no value. It's not a problem that has no value. Give it back. Why? Because you can't tell. Esrog has no value. Could I give it back? Yes or no? So some want to be mechalik. They want to say there's a difference. Pizza, you cannot tell the difference between a pizza pie that was made before Pesach and after Pesach. They're both frozen pizzas or whatever. Just one doesn't have value because it went through Pesach, so it has zero value, and the other one does. Esrog, everybody knows right now it has no value. So the fact that it has no value is in the esrog itself. You can just look at the esrog and say it's an esrog after sukkos. It's garnished. That's what someone Italian. I'll go pot it.
It does have some value. It's not value. It's an esrog. People will use it for esrog jelly. It's not
Yeah, I understand. So give it back. But you stole $100 value, and now you're giving it back 50-cent value. Do you have to pay for the 95, the 99.50? What?
You can use it next sukkos.
You can't. How are you gonna? You use the esrog. So have you ever done that?
I have.
So what do you have?
I have put an esrog. I put it into my esrog case. And it was stainless. It was silver.
Yeah.
And the next year I opened up and it was whole. It was whole.
Because it was a tzaddik. A tzaddik of an esrog comes back. You open up every year and it's whole. It does nothing. It doesn't change nothing. Yeah. There goes the whole esrog business. You just do it like you sell it on Amazon, like a certain preservative or case, and then every year you just keep on using it. Unbelievable. Does it work for Aravis? That's why I want to know. That would be unbelievable. Since it changed names, it went from a lulav to leaves. Hutze, you take the leaves, you make it into a brew. Oh, it's Parshas Shavua. How's this Parshas Shavua, everybody say? Here we go. Zechrya. It's in the Parshas Shavua. Fine. There was a guy that asked his best friend. He says, "What should I get my mother-in-law for birthday?" So he says, "You should get her a vacuum cleaner." He says, "What's his bag?" He says, "Because today the witches don't use brooms anymore." Now I got to tell you, this if you know my mother-in-law, she's nobody has ever said a bad word about my mother-in-law. Anybody know my mother-in-law, Susie Freeman? She's not just a tzaddik of a lady. So if I can make fun of mother-in-laws, that gives me a to make fun of anybody. I pick on everybody equally. I can make fun of Hasidim, Litvaks, this, that, Zoldas, Svardim, women, men, the whole zach. So you can't be down me for anything. All right. Says the Gemara. So if he took these leaves and he made it into a broom, he's kaina. Why? Before it was leaves, and now it's a broom. It's interesting. I just want to mention this, that the Yismach Moshe says that a lulav, if you hold a lulav upright like this, so it's pointing towards Shemaim, you use it for a mitzvah, you shake it as a lulav, and you make a mitzvah. As soon as you point it downwards, then the same lulav becomes a broom. So he says it's all in the head. If your machshava and your kavana is dishmaya, then you do a mitzvah. When your head is in the toilet, so then the same thing is an aveira. Chofi of avdi shamshura. You take the broom and you make it into a rope. Here's the picture. A rope made out of this hutzi. Loi koni. No kinyan. My timer, the hodar sosarle v'havi chofya, because you can undo it, and you make it back into a broom, and then we're going to see a whole sugya on Amud Beis, things that you could make them and undo them, so that's not called a shino. Bayra papa.
You can't undo a broom. You can undo a broom. That
right. No, he's saying that chofya. Chufya, you're kind of right. Maybe there's something that you do to the actual. Maybe you sew it. I don't know how you make a broom exactly. You just tie it together. I hear you shyly asking. You just undo it and it becomes hutzi again. I hear. Obviously, it doesn't for some reason. It doesn't become hutzi again. That's why I brought this here. I don't know if I could do it or not. But this is important. Yeah, it seems like you could. So the tyoimas basically is that's how the one thing you need to know about a lulav to make it kosher. First of all, it should be straight, right? Nice and straight, not like bent. But the tyoimas is you take the spine, the center of the spine, you go up, and it's the highest leaf in the middle. I don't know if I could get it here. I didn't even try, but let's say we could get it. Here we go. Oh. Shma. I don't want to do nechlikat teams yet. Okay. So here, let's pretend that this is the center one, okay? The highest one. That's what people are doing. They go down the middle. There's always one center one. Sometimes there's two. Toys actually talks about it. Very rarely. That one, sometimes two are identical, they're identical height, but you take the one that's the highest, where the tip is the highest. And then you have to make sure that because each leaf is made out of two, it's folded in half. Let me demonstrate. I don't know if this is old enough that we can demonstrate on this. Doesn't seem to have enough. I don't think so. Okay.
basically bent over.
I do see something here. Yeah, here it goes. I'll show you from this part. You see how it's bent? It's folded in half. So if this is nechlikat tumas, I'm going to do nechlikat tumas right now. I'm going to split it like that. I just ripped it. Okay, because it's nice and here, this is nechlikat tumas. So if you take this leaf like this,
down the seam,
that's nechlikat. Okay, so people are very makka. It should be completely together on the top. If it's a slightly, they look in the light. If you see a piece of light going through the two leaves, or it's actually the leaf folded in half, then it's possible. So, okay, that's why I stole this lulav. My father-in-law's moichel me. I own half of it. Half of the lulav is mine. Half of it says. I'll have to do. I'll give him. I'll take one. He takes one. Fine. Huh? Oh, it's interesting that you say that. The Lulav Rebbe. There was a point. I'm just explaining what he just said. There was one of the years in Eretz Yisrael, there's no lulav. Very hard to find the lulav. So he saw an Arab walking the giant lulav. And he goes over and says, "How much do you want for the lulav?" So the Arab knew that the Jews were looking for the lulav. So he tells him, $500. So the Rebbe says, "Listen, I don't need the whole thing. It's a very long lulav. How much do you want for half?" So the guy gave him a good price for half. He says, "I'll take the upper half. I want the upper half." And he says, he left the Arab with the other half. He says, "Okay, shkayach for that." It's like the guy that found tefillin, and he saw a guy was selling tefillin on the street in New York. So he said, "How much do you want for the tefillin?" So the guy says, $100. He says, "Let me see." So he takes out the tefillin. He says, "Here's the siyadta." He says, "Okay, that's the one for the left hand. Where's the one for the right? You only have half the tefillin. I can only pay you, $25 for this. It's garnished." Okay, anyway. So says the Gemara like this. If the tyomis, meaning that top leaf, if it was split in half, what's the halacha? Just look in Taisus for a second. Taisus dibra maskal nechlaka tyomis. That is, you see nechlaka tyomis, so like 2 lines down. Well, the Reim says Taisus, according to halakha gedolos, lulav kosher. We can never find a kosher lulav. Will be very difficult to find even one out of 500 you're not going to find. There's a famous chazanish that they say in the name of chazanish that he's never in his life found a lulav that's kosher, and he's never seen an esrei that's possible. It's very hard. That's what he said. But today they have the dairy lulavim. They're unbelievable. You probably know about the dairy lulavim. They cost a lot of money, like $100, whatever. But they're usually very, very close on the top. So in case you're wondering. Also, an interesting halacha stam, once we're talking about a lulav, it's important to remember to have at least 1 tefach on the top of the lulav, above the hadassim. So don't put your hadassim over here. The hadassim have to be 1 tefach below the top of the lulav if we're really talking about a lulav. Okay. Says the Gemara. Toshma, the Omer Rebbe Masun, Omer Rebbe Yeshua ben Levi. Nitla Tiyom is possible. It's interesting, just to mention going back to the if a person made a broom out of a lulav. In those days, there was kedusha shvius on lulavim. Like this kedusha of shmita on fruit, there's kedusha of shmita on a lulav because they used to use the lulavim for brooms. Today, that kedusha went away because we don't use the lulavim for brooms. Says the Gemara, nechlaka hatyoim is possible if my lav wadin lenechlaka. If the nitla hatyoim is possible. If the top was completely removed, chopped off, possible. So the Gemara wants to say, who adin? My lab wadin lenechlaka. Same thing would be if it was split. Loi nitl shani the chaser lei. No. It's only because it's completely missing. That's why it's possible. But if it's split down the middle, I don't know. Daf Yomi is sponsored by Greg Haber for the success and safe return of our chayalim and hostages, and for the zechus of all of Klal Yisroel. Zog Daily Gemara. Shkoyach for coming. What time is it? It's late.
5.
Ikadam. Toshma. Don't wasn't a Yeshua ben Levi. Nechlokat Tyomis. Nasa Kimisha. Nitlo Apostle Shmamino. So the Gemara says, yeah. In fact, if it's just split down the middle, the Tyomis, it becomes possible. Amar Papa. Hayman goes alive from a Chavrei. Now we have a couple of simple halachas. Person steals dirt from his friend, and he makes a brick out of it. Loy kani. He's not kani. This is a pella. Why? My time at the Hodim Ashvili Afro. You can take a brick, break it down back to its original components, and make it back into dirt. However, Levinta, if he steals a brick, the Afro, and he grinds it down into dirt, kani is kaina. My amers. Levinta. What? You shouldn't be chai. You shouldn't be kaina. Why? Because you can make it back into a brick. So he says this is a new brick. Why? So Rashi says something very interesting. No 2 bricks are the same size. In those days, they didn't have like forms and molds. They made a brick, so each one is a half an inch off, and it's not. So therefore, you're not going to make it back to the same brick. But it seems like if it was the same exact brick like they have today, literally to the millimeter, then it could be that you could say the svara that he's not koinu because he can make it back into a brick. Somebody asked the Reb Chaim Brisker, he asked him, how come you always say there's tzvei dinim? Always says tzvei dinim. L'mashal by bris milah, he says there's a din to do the bris milah. There's two mitzvahs: to do a bris milah and to be mahul. He always says two dinim. How come we always say two dinim? He says, I'll tell you why. How come by Shev Brachas you don't bring, instead of, it's hard to find the 10th guy that wasn't by the chazan or whatever, so just bring a brick. The Gemara in Bava Kama Daf Amud Beis says that a brick is panam chadashos, so bring a brick. So the guy says, oh, what's the shaychus? So he's talking about a human being. Oh, she says, oh, that's what I mean by tzvei dinim. There's no shaychus. That's a brick and that's a human being. That's what tzvei dinim means. There's no connection. One is this and one is that. Okay. Zog the Gemara. Somebody steals a chunk of silver from his friend, and he makes money out of it. Like Kani. It's not considered a shinui. My taima, you can take it, melt it down, and make it back into a piece of silver. But if he takes money and he makes it into a chunk of silver, Kani, my amers, the same thing as we said by bricks. You're not going to make the same exact piece of coin, but the reverse, to make a chunk of silver, doesn't have to be the same size. You had a tarnished coin and you made it nice and shiny, like honey. That's not considered a shinui. Chadati, but it's brand new. And you made it tarnished, honey. Why? You're never going to get it back. To the Gemara says, my time, my amers, you're going to make it new again. The tarnishing it's never going to be brand new, right? So you can never take a car and make it brand new. You can clean it. It's not going to be brand new. You're not going to take a coin and make it brand new. Mendy told me that one of his clients came to him with like a piece of jewelry, and he says, check this out. It's crushed or whatever, like it broke. So he went and they brought it to the guy that manufactures. The guy says he's never seen something like so out of, like, what happened there. So he goes back to the guy, says, what happened? The guy wants to know how did you bring it to such a situation. So the guy says, my wife was making challah and it fell into the mixer and it crushed it up. They fixed it perfectly, but I told him I had a very I was flying my plane, but before takeoff, I was on the ground and I was taxiing, and as a pilot, you have to wear sunglasses. First of all, you have to look cool, but more importantly, there's a lot of sun, and you don't have the visors like in a car. Sometimes the sun gets in your eyes. It's very dangerous. So I'm wearing my glasses, and I wanted to see if the wheel of the plane was gonna hit. I don't know what I was looking for, so I stuck my head out the window, and the plane was moving, and my sunglasses fell out onto the runway, and the plane, I watched it in slow motion. I couldn't stop. The wheel of the plane just crushed my glasses into smithereens. So I stopped the plane. I got out, climbed out, took the glasses, and I sent it back to the company because the company said that they have this warranty. They forgot one of these what? You know what I'm talking about? One type of warranty. So I said, I want to tell you a story you never heard before in your life. I was on the taxi. A plane ran over your glasses. So I figured nothing. They sent me back. They sent me back a brand new pair of glasses. Brand new. All right. Anyway, Zakti Gemara. It has nothing to do with the sugya. Just thought I'd tell you. You bought a brand new thing. You made it into, somehow you're able to bring it to such a terrible situation. That's a shinu. Why? Because it'll never go back to the original brand new piece. We learned in the Mishnah, when you're a ganav, you pay like at the time that it was stolen. What does it come to include? What's zaklal? Tremendous rule that we have. So what do you gain by this rule? Says the Gemara, picture. If you steal a young sheep, it becomes a a ram, you steal a calf, becomes a bull. Is that a shinui? The answer is yes. That's a huge chiddush. That's why I needed to call it zaklal. You didn't make a big change. It just grew up. It turned Talav and Asa'ayil. It became 13 months old. Boom. That's the shinui. Even though you didn't do anything, you didn't prove it. It happened by itself. Egel and Shar. A calf became a bull 2 years old. So since it's yours, you went the famous Tvicha Mechir that we had on Masechta. It's even the parsha. Everything you'll find in the parsha. I think it's in the parsha, no? Yeah? Sounds very familiar from the parsha. Mishpatim, you're gonna have if in one daf you don't have 20 halachos from there, we have a problem. I was being Mavisadra. It's unbelievable the psukim that came up one after another, and what we learned from this word and that word and the double lashon. You're gonna see if you do Shnai Mikra, but pay attention by Kriyas Torah. It's coming to life. Shaloyu tevech, shaloyu moicher. It's yours, so you're a kohenet. Au gavra. So Mela, if it's yours, there's no tvicha mechir. You shecht it. You don't have to pay the guy 4 or 5. Au gavra that goes up hadona the Torah mechavrei. This guy stole a pair of oxen that in those days they used to use it as a tractor. Ozal koravu krova zora behu zora. He plowed the field with it and he seeded the field. Rabbi said, beautiful video that I found over here. First of all, here's a picture that Yoshi made. He didn't know that I was going to put these videos in it, so I feel bad. But check this out. It's Givaldic. Because we talk about Harisha and how they used to use this as a plow. Here it goes. This is normal in a lot of different parts. Even in America, people use it. I saw a guy saying, mud, it's better to use animals than a tractor. That's how they go all day long. Advancement in technology. You do this in like 10 seconds. And the whole, you do 100 foot wide pass. But anyway, so that's Harisha. Check this out. This is seeding the field with so now he's using a little bit of technology, but he has that white thing is full of seeds, and that's how they seed it. See the seeds in there. Beautiful. Goes through the white pipes, the clear pipes, goes into the ground. You can see closely how it goes in. Mamish puts it deep in there, and Am Yisrael. Okay. So the guy steals a tractor, and he plows his field. He steals this machine, and he seeds his field. He's a nice guy. He gives it right back. You just needed to borrow it for a few days. Also coming to Rav Nachman, so they go to Rav Nachman. Go see how much he improved the field. The field is now worth another $10,000. So give him $10,000. It seemed like what? It's only the tractor that created the improvement. And the ground didn't do anything for it. It's not just the plow; it's also the ground. There's a lot of components here. Did I say you should give all $10,000? I say you should give him 5. We learned that you only have to give back the principle. You give back the oxen. You don't have to give back anything else. You don't have to give back the improvement. Didn't I tell you already? So this is Rav Nachman, Rava's Rebbe, right? Famous that Rava always spoke to Rav Nachman. That's Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman tells him, didn't I tell you, when I'm sitting and judging people, don't talk to me. Huna said about me, me and Shmuel, who we know that when Rav and Shmuel, even though Rav was greater than Shmuel, but when Rav and Shmuel have an argument, Allah is like Shmuel when it comes to mamonos, when it comes to any monetary thing. So I'm like Shover Malka, I'm like Shmuel. Me and Shmuel are brothers when it comes to the Hayinish, and the reason why I'm passing like this, Gazlon Atiko, he's a career criminal. This is what he does for a living. Ubeina, they can say I have to give him a nice fine here. That's why. You're right. Halachically, he doesn't have to pay, but in this case, we're going to make him pay. How are we doing time-wise over here? Okay, 49 minutes. Gozal beheim of iskino. The Elegant Mishnah sponsored by Moshe Cohen. The zechus is you should have a lot of tzloch in ruchnius and in gashmius. He steals an animal and it becomes an old animal. Avodim iskino. So this is the final thing that Yoshi did for today. Here's an Eved that deteriorated. His body goes down and down and less, and finally he's an old Eved, hunched over Eved. So what's an Eved like this worth? A fraction of the price that he was bought for. He steals them when he's a young, strong Eved, and he gives them back when he's 90 years old. He pays like the price, the whatever he was worth at the time of the Gneva. We had this yesterday, right? So Remeir makes a distinction between a slave and a behemoth. The Baya Eved, since a Eved is like karka, and you cannot steal a property, so you can't steal a slave. So he says, here, take your slave. Take it back. As is, 90 years old. So we're going to see in the Gemara, according to Rav, Remeir doesn't make this distinction. It's actually Chachamim. The names are reversed. If there's a massive shinui, we spoke about shinui before, a brick, a lulav, different things. So we're going into the shinui now. He steals a coin, and there's it develops a crack. So you could see the shinui, it's there. Perois, fruit, verkivu, and they rotted. Massive shinui. Yayin, the wine, vehichmetz, became sour, became vinegar. Thank you, Mark. You pay like the time of the Geneva. But what if they take this coin out of currency? So you look at it, it looks like a great coin. Truma vinitmis. Somebody that was tummy touched the truma. Now no one could eat it. Talachli, it's also to eat. Chometz, you hear this? Chometz v'avar lava pesach. This is where the shiloh should be, really. Chometz v'avar pesach. You have chometz that it's no longer edible because it went through Pesach. The animal that somebody did avodah zarah to, let's say, so Rashi says it developed a cataract. And again, we're talking about a mum that's not visible. There's an animal that's due to die. Why? Because it killed a human being. Because since the shinoi is not nicker, you cannot tell that something changed in the actual item. It's a halachic change, but not a real change. Mela, you give it right back. Says Papa, I don't learn pshat, and it means that animal became an older animal. Even or the human being, the slave, just got weak, got smaller. It was 1,000 pounds, and now it's 500-pound animal. That's also enough of a real, say, you paid the shasak zela. Says the Gemara about then why does the Mishnah talk about getting old? Just say it got what's the word? Deteriorated. There's a better word, no? And how do you say on an animal went from 1,000 pounds to 500 pounds? It got
appreciate.
Yeah, okay. These are all good words. Not really. Not appreciated. Emaciated. Emaciated is better, maybe. What?
No, that's not a word.
What does the article say? No. Bekrisha. No, that's skina.
It says lean here. Leaned out.
Leaned out. Okay. Right. Must be a better word.
Patricia withered away.
Became an ebach. Great word. Says the Gemara. Says the Gemara, you're right. You're right. If it got leaned out like an animal that becomes older, that it cannot gain weight again. It's a situation where I need a better word than lean. Anyways, it came to such a situation that it deteriorated to a point where it's not going to go back. That's like getting older. That's the point. The point is that yes, it deteriorated, but like a skina, like getting older. Actually, interesting. That's his name. Shisha, getting older. Like we saw before, that even though the change, not something he did, but it's a 13-month-old sheep. Now we call it an ayil. Now we call the calf a bull. The change happened in his hands. And he's kind of, he makes a kinyan and tavach u'machar, and therefore if he sells it or shechset, shaloi tevev, shaloi moicher, he doesn't have to pay 4 or 5. And I told you, so the Gemara says like this, I agree to this halacha 100%, but I told you, be very careful when you say over a halacha from somebody to make sure it's the right name. It wasn't in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, it was Rabbi Lloyd. So Rabbi say, there's a lot of words here, and it could get confusing. There's a very, very simple point there. The Rav holds that there's no difference between an animal and a slave. Both of them, even a slave, you could steal. And therefore, just like you steal an animal, you steal a slave. And if you make a shinoi, there's a big change. It got older, it deteriorated. You have to pay like at the time when it was in full shape. That's how you have to pay. You don't give a deteriorated animal or a slave back. The problem is that in our Mishnah, Reb Meir is the one that says that there's a difference between a slave and an animal, that you cannot sell, you can't steal a slave, and Chacham are the ones that say you could. So what's the halacha like? So we're going to go back and forth, but the bottom line is that Rav is going to say that our Mishnah, there's a mistake in the Manda Amrim. Reb Meir is not the one that said that there's a difference between a slave and that's the whole sugya. There's no difference, according to Reb Meir, between a slave and an animal. Or Rav says Rav, halacha Reb Meir, that you cannot steal a slave. Slave is like karka. You can't steal him, and therefore you give it back any age, any time, you just give it back to the owner. Rav asked the Gemara, Rav Shavik Rabbanan Vavik Reb Meir, how can it be that Rav is going to go like the minority opinion of Reb Meir against Rabbanan? Amri, Mishum the Brisa Ibchatanya. The reason is because the Brisa says that it's Rabbanan that actually say that you cannot steal a slave. Rav Shavik Vavik Brisa. Rav is going to take a Brisa over a Mishnah. So the Gemara, no. Rav Masisa Nami Ibchatani. When his Rebbe taught him the Mishnah, it had the reverse names. It was Chachamim who said you cannot steal a slave. Umay time of the Rav Dabach Masisim Kamei the Brisa, other Rabba Nebel the Brisa Kamei Masnisim. How come we don't flip the Brisa? Why do we flip the Mishnah? Amri Rav Nami Masisim Ibchatnuye. Oh, sorry, that's where the Gemara says that Rav learned it like that. Viboy Sema Kilo Yapich. We have 2 against 1, and therefore, should we go back and say it correctly? Let's go back and say it correctly. Because the Brisa says it the opposite way. Rav also is going to flip the Brisa. He's going to flip the Mishnah. Rav is going to flip the Mishnah to match the Brisa. So therefore, Reb Meir is going to hold that you could sell a slave. Chachamim say you can't sell a slave. Why would Rav flip the Mishnah versus flipping a Brisa? A Mishnah is more accurate than a Brisa. The reason is because when Rav learned the Mishnah, his Rebbe taught it to him with the opposite names. That it's the Chachamim who say that you cannot steal a slave. If you don't flip it. When don't you flip a Mishnah for Brisa? If you have one Mishnah, one Brisa, the Mishnah wins. But if you have 2 Brisas, which are also written by Tanai, but not as accurate as the Mishnah, 2 against 1, you flip the Mishnah in favor of the Brisas. So how do you have 2? Real quickly, if somebody exchanges, does chalipin, you take my cow, I take your donkey. So, there's a question. When did this cow give birth? Did the cow give birth before the sale or after the sale? If it's after the sale, so then the buyer gets to keep the calf. If it's before the sale, then the seller gets to keep the calf. The same thing with a human being. He sells his shifcha, he sells his slave, and she gives birth. We don't know when she gave birth, before the sale or after the sale. Rashi just says real quickly that the reason why it says a machlef para, it should say he sold the para. Why does it say a machlef para? Just like he sold a slave, he sold the cow. She says like this, very, very important halacha. It's kedai to remember this. When you sell something for money, the only way you're kind it is if you do mashicha. You have to pull it. Money is not kind unless you do mashicha. So if I sell you my cow, you have to pull the cow. So now we know when the cow gave birth. I was there. I had to pull the cow. But when it comes to slave, it's different. I could buy a slave with money, even though the slave is not here. Slave is like karka. I don't have to pull the karka. I don't do mashiach on the karka. I buy it with the kesef. So I could buy a slave with money, and that's why it says that you bought the slave with money, and that's why it says you bought the cow with chalipin. Because that's the case where the cow wasn't there. If one guy says it, I know for a fact she gave birth when I owned it, and the other one doesn't argue. Zachaba, the one that's bari v'shema bari other. They both say we don't know. What's halacha? You divide it. Both say we know for a fact that happened in my domain. So the seller should swear. Why? Because the concept called miktas, and since the owner admits that part of this goes to the buyer, in other words, the mother, you take the mother, but I don't agree that you take the vlad. So I'm says I admit to have. Zerashi, the future Gemara, this halach, because I'm giving it to you on the spot. I'm saying take it, so it's not really okay. Okay, so this is called Moida b'migzah d'Remeir. Chachamim einish baim. Oh, and this is the brisa, the second one. Chacham say einish baim lo yala avodim v'lo yala karka. Just like you don't swear, you don't make a shvua on karka, so you don't make a shvua on a slave. So you see that a slave is like karka, and that's Chachamim, not Remeir. So therefore, he switches the name in the Mishnah when it says Remeir Oimer. It's not Remeir. In fact, it says Rav. It's Chachamim. Why? Because we have two brises that say it versus the one Mishnah, so we have to change the Mishnah, not the brisa. Let's just do to the end of the Amud. Says the Gemara. So then, if that's the case, so Rav should say halacha is like who? Chachamim. He switched Remeir into Chachamim, so you should say that halacha is like Chachamim. Why do you say halacha your Remeir? Halacha your Remeir, halacha your Rabbanim Mebaylet. So Gemara Chiko Amar L'Maydaf Kisu Tanisu halacha your Remeir. You have a different girsa in your Mishnah. You have a girsa that it says Remeir is the one that says that a slave you can't be kaina, you can't steal a slave. So according to you, the halacha is like Remeir. But I know that in fact it's not Remeir, it's Chachamim, and therefore, but the halacha remains the same. It doesn't matter who said it. The halacha is that you cannot steal a slave, says Rav. Have a wonderful day. Shmuel for coming.